Hello and welcome to Where You Not Entertained. I'm Daniel.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm James.
And we are covering Judas and the Black Messiah. It is another one of the movies that is released in theater and on HBO at the same time.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure on this one because for some reason, I guess I was seeing previews for it so long ago that I had thought that this had released in theaters first and then just came to HBO. But
no,
it just released recently?
Yeah, this is one of the ones that's available on HBO for whatever, a week, I think.
Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah, it's there for another couple days.
Yeah. And then
February 12th.
gone.
Yep.
And I'm assuming it'll be back at some point.
It's already gone?
No, it will be gone very shortly.
Oh, gotcha.
From HBO.
Limited release.
Yeah, they release them for like a week or a week and a half, something like that.
No, I think it's 30 days that
Oh,
they'll
is it that
release
long?
them for on HBO.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then they go away for a while.
Okay. I didn't know it was that long. I thought it was shorter.
But anyways, yeah, so this movie was definitely what I would consider more award show bait.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although I'm really shocked at the lack of Golden Globe nominations for this.
Yeah, it didn't get a whole lot, which
It
I was
got-
surprised. This movie was pretty incredible.
It got 2. And I felt like it deserved maybe more. I mean, obviously, Daniel Kaluuya definitely deserves the nomination, but I don't know. I thought maybe something for the film itself would have been nice, but
Well, yeah. That's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. You never know.
Yeah.
yeah, I think if movies like this and The Little Things and some of the other great things we've already seen this year aren't getting the best film nominations, it makes me really curious what those other movies are like.
And
Yeah, I
where to
don't
watch
even
them.
Yeah, I don't even know what movies are up there.
Yeah. I'm
What's
kinda
stealing all the
curious.
nominations?
Kind of curious myself. I guess we'll see in not too much longer. And then we'll have a whole slew of new movies to watch and record about.
Yay.
Like we do every year.
That's
Yeah,
not the most
Oscars.
stressful time of year in the podcast or anything.
No, of course not.
No.
No, Oscar season comes directly after tax season this year.
Yeah.
We watch all the boring, slow Oscar movies, so you don't have to.
Unless you want to. Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
We tell you which ones are worth the time.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Right.
They're all worth the time, but
So
so
that's debatable.
back to the movie we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, if Roma could give me my 2 hours back, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, well, one out of the many we've seen.
That is fair.
Yes. They all have their merits. Anyway.
They do, and so does this movie.
Yeah.
I was blown away by the acting in this.
Yeah. Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah, wow. He really inhabited this character, and the speech patterns, the accent, all of it was fantastic.
It
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Keith Stanfield was incredible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, he was. It was. So there are a bunch of other people in this movie, obviously. There's a lot of moving
people.
parts in this movie. But really, those two are kind of the main focus. You have Jesse Plemons,
Mhm.
who is the FBI agent, and he's in it a decent amount as well. But
He's so good in everything he's in.
he's something. He can either be like super creepy, you're just like, wow, guy, you're weird, or he can be in a role like this one, which was kind of, I mean, he played the part well, don't get me wrong, but I didn't like the character, which go figure.
Yeah, I loved the character. I didn't want to be friends with the character, but I felt like it was the appropriate amount of conflict. I feel like internally, and somebody like Plemons can bring that out with so little to work with. And I'm not saying little to work with like there was a bad script. He just didn't have a ridiculous amount of dialogue.
Right.
But the way he delivered it, you felt that conflict between, I didn't feel like his character, Roy Mitchell, was inherently racist the way J. Edgar Hoover was portrayed.
No.
But he was definitely happy to keep all of his white privilege.
Yeah, exactly.
And not concerned about changing the system too much to where he didn't get to enjoy the top shelf cigars and scotch.
He seemed less and less concerned with his initial statement. When he pulls Lakeith Stanfield into this, when he pulls Bill into this, he comes at it from this very empathetic kind of, I want to help you change the system point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like as the movie went on, that point of view just disappeared as he felt more pressure to just get the job accomplished.
Yeah, and as the mission parameters changed.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, J. Edgar Hoover was a bastard. So
yeah,
I imagine that there was a lot of pressure being put on him. In reality, I mean, they show it in the movie, but to the degree of which that pressure was actually being applied, you don't really know, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get to see some of it in the movie for sure, and I think that leads to how his stance kind of changes. He's a lot less friendly, a lot more put-offish. He's more harsh in knowing, what he's really asking Bill to do and to not only like put up with, but also to actually sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And the further we get into the movie, the more kind of retracted into the FBI he becomes, and less of I'm doing something to do the right thing.
It's as soon as they mention his daughter by name and almost her exact age, you can see an entire shift in him.
Yeah.
It's a threat. It's a veiled threat.
Yeah,
exactly. It's not friendly. Oh, I pay attention. It's I'm looking closely.
I did say J. Edgar Hoover was a bastard.
Yeah. And what an absolutely brilliant directive. Prison's temporary, so we're going to kill him because that's just going to make him live on forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Never heard of a martyr, apparently.
Right.
So, yeah, and I think that they did a good job of portraying that, and I think that Jesse Plemons' job of acting was phenomenal. And you're right, he wasn't on the screen a lot. He didn't have a lot of dialogue, but you can still kind of see it.
Yeah,
from the beginning until who he is at the end and how he's behaving.
And while he's still a bastard because he followed the orders, I appreciated the fact that he did such a phenomenal job of acting that you understood that he wasn't happy.
Yeah,
carrying out those orders.
Right.
Yeah,
more of a status quo kind of thing
at
the end, as opposed to
just toeing the line.
Right.
And similarly for Bill.
Right.
I think initially he thought the information he was giving was harmless enough. And he wasn't necessarily detracting from the cause, but padding his pocket at the same time.
Right.
And so...
I think he was happy to not be in trouble and to get paid.
Yeah.
Right. He's not going away for impersonating an FBI agent. He's not going away for Grand Theft Auto. And all you have to do is give me some info and we're going to give you some money. And he's probably just fine with that until things start getting a little more hairy.
Yeah. And in Fred's absence, he steps up and really integrates himself. And you start to question, which side is he still not involved, or has he become genuinely part of?
So we haven't said it. Spoiler alert, by the way.
Yes.
10 minutes into this episode.
Right. Well, we haven't spoiled much.
Right, but we're about to because I'm going to.
Yeah. All right. So yeah,
But
spoiler
sorry.
alert. You've been forewarned. Very,
sorry for
very late in the
jumping
game. So go. Well, you gonna? I thought you were gonna spoil it.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess I will. Yeah, the whole kind of transition. I loved the way that Lakeith Stanfield was able to portray the character, Bill O'Neill.
Mm-hmm.
It's Bill, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I never truly knew where his allegiances lied.
Right.
One example was when he showed Fred the C4 in the back of the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely wasn't sure how much of that was him wanting to get good info to get paid again, or to be done with this, or because he genuinely wanted to help the cause and was a revolutionary and wanted to blow up the Capitol building. Like, I don't know. I still don't know. Even after the end of the scene where you see him drive off and you could tell that he was almost playing a role. He was both. Yeah. It was so weird. It's not in a good way, not in a bad way, because he was a man of two minds.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to portray.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And he also had this sort of desperation almost with the C4 that you even wonder if he wants to help along the cause, but also make it bigger than him so that they shut the whole operation down in general.
I don't wonder at all. He was recording the conversation. He was looking for a way to get out. He wanted to get Fred arrested for conspiracy to blow up a building with some C4 that he provided, that he probably got from the FBI, I would assume.
Entrapment.
Unless he just knows a lot of people with...
Right. Yeah. C4.
Yeah. And, I think he was afraid and he was tired and he just wanted to get some info to go, this is how we do it. Here you go. Go arrest him, and I'm done.
Yeah. Here's your last egg.
Yes.
Sorry about
that.
The
golden goose is stopped.
Yeah. Can we mark that time real quick to cut?
Okay.
You'll hear a pause. You'll hear me snap and then say sorry about that.
No problem.
And then if you want to just repeat the golden goose thing, then...
Okay, cool.
Do that.
You ready?
1 second. Go on. The dog came in the room and was clacking around on the chair mat.
Gotcha.
All right. Ready whenever you are.
All right. Yeah, he needed to get one more egg out of, he wanted to have that be the last egg that the golden goose laid. Right. Get it over with.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop being on the hook all the time.
Yeah, I think he was well past his point of, this is out of my comfort zone.
Right.
I think he is well past that. But it continued to go even further. Even though that he was really at his breaking point, like quite literally. And I think that they did a great job of showing him in that mode. Like when he's having the drink at the bar and the guy passes him we'll just call it the sleeping powder. I don't know what it was. He's really freaking out about that. But then when he has to actually give it to him, before he's about to actually go away.
Yeah.
Before Fred is about to do some time for the ice cream thievery.
$70 worth of ice cream he supposedly stole.
Yeah, exactly. And he was doing years. It's like, geez. Anyway, he was just like, he was breaking down, panicking. And we have no way of knowing if that's how it really went down, but I love the fact that they shot it that way, that's what they included, because it really shows you how torn up and, like I said, past his breaking point Bill was, and how much Fred still trusted him.
Right.
Because he obviously drank it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the man is standing in your face, like, breaking down. He's just breaking into a million pieces right in front of you, and then offers to get you a drink, and you still drink it.
Yeah. That is one weird part about the movie, is that Bill looks suspicious as hell almost the whole movie. And like the last scene you're talking about, that's kind of excusable because Fred was about to go away, and you always have the, like, my mentor's being shipped off to prison after the appeals didn't go through. Like, that's a reason to break down and be upset. But there were plenty of times where I'm just like, wow, dude, you look guilty.
Right.
Like, how do people not look at him and go, what's up with that dude? Don't look right.
Yeah.
I don't think it's all kosher there.
Especially with the doubts that they already had, right?
Right.
Yeah, they picked up on him really quickly, but he was able to sort of fake his way through it.
Yeah.
And that part was at least decently believable, but yeah, I feel like there would have been more questions of how did you not
don't get those suspicions and then
that?
just be like, oh, okay, you had a good excuse. Never mind. I'll never look at you again. Like, you got your eye on that guy from then on.
Yeah, well,
especially with the shootout.
The girl that had her eye on him is dead.
Well, she
didn't die. She went to prison. Yeah. So it would be kind of weird that they didn't.
But yeah,
they didn't tell on him. Be like, right. I don't know where Bill went. He didn't shoot it out with the rest of us.
Right.
Well, yeah, he went up and he fired off one shot to sort of.
He didn't even fire off a shot. He peeked his head around the corner and they saw him and they started opening fire and he ran off.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it did. It's almost like he gave enough reason for them to think he was up there, but then he just took off as soon as he could.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting thing to include. It's always difficult in movies like this where you have, we'll call him just the undercover agent. He's not an agent. But when they have the informant, there we go. That's more appropriate. When they have an informant in the ranks, it's really hard to show them both ways, right? You have to show them enough in being part of the cause, I guess, and enough to cast a doubt, but show them that they're still informing.
Right.
Yep.
And I think that they did a fairly good job here.
I think they did a damn good job.
Yeah, it's really, I think for me, it was like the shootout thing that I was like, how'd he just get away with that? Like, how's nobody said, hey, he was here and he just left? Because if you're part of the cause, you're part of the Black Panthers, and your Black Panther brothers are shooting at the cops, well, you should be too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that he went up to the top and had the police down below scream, we got a sniper, and start shooting at the roof.
Yeah.
I think that might have been enough to be like, well, I mean, Bill was up there and then he started getting waylaid by the police and took off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like, it's enough to, that, I don't know. I think that I see where you're coming from, but I think it's also explainable.
Yeah. No, and I don't disagree with that. I think as a whole, this movie was done really well. It dealt with some very tricky subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult, especially when you're talking about Black Panthers and racial inequality and the things that were happening at the time. Even things that kind of relate to today and how things are going.
Oh, yes.
And I think that they did a really good job of towing the line to show you that what they were fighting for is justified, and how they were going about it was criminal in some cases. Not all,
Yes.
obviously giving into your community and helping the people of your community and trying to empower people in your community. Nothing wrong with that, and that's perfectly fine. Getting into shootouts with the cops, even if they are horrible individuals, is not going to help the betterment of your cause or the people involved in it.
Right.
You cast negative light from anybody that isn't familiar or isn't in the situation. People that could be on your side look at this and go, "Ooh, these people are crazy, or they're bad," or whatever conclusions you may draw from it, just because of what you see or hear, as opposed to knowing what everything's about.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it's hard to get a lot of positive influence when you approach anything with violence, whether it's justified or not, or your personal opinion agrees with it or disagrees. I think things like that make it harder to get a mass help.
Right.
It's hard to turn the entirety of the public with you.
Because it
when you
gives
approach it
your
that way.
enemies, it gives your enemies a whole lot of ammunition to call you the bad guy.
Yeah.
Even
Exactly.
people on the fence.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's one of the things that I actually really liked about this movie, is that it wasn't everybody that was involved in the Black Panthers or supporting the Black Panthers going around shooting cops. Right. It was
And I
a
also
few
like the-
situations.
Exactly. And I also like the fact that they didn't sugarcoat it. They didn't pretend like the Black Panthers were just a community outreach program that was mislabeled by the evil police. And don't get me wrong,
Right.
the police were pretty evil in this movie and in real
Absolutely.
life back
Yeah.
then. To this day, in certain situations, but I'm not a police are bad kind of person. But
Yeah.
it was very. I think that they had a very tough job to do there, and they did it excellently. That you still had sympathy for the Black Panthers and Fred particularly,
Right.
Right.
in spite of the fact that I didn't agree with some of the choices of individual members.
Yeah, exactly.
I also found it very interesting the way that you never see repercussions for for Bill when this is sort of finished. You don't see anyone being angry with him or people calling him out. So they leave you with his words, and you can sort of interpret him however you want. So they don't take that usual stance of pointing the finger at him necessarily, despite the title, which definitely does a good job of that. But they really don't spend any time trying to paint a positive or negative light on him. They just show the events of what happened and what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of I think that is kind of wrapped up in the story of Jake. Because when Fred goes to talk to Jake's mother, she says, yes, he did those things, but that's not all he was. And that it's so easy to take a person's greatest or worst moment in their life and paint that picture that that's the kind of person that they were, when without being privy to the circumstances, it's not an accurate picture. Because there's so much more to who a human is, and I think that was kind of a metaphor for Bill's situation as a whole. I had a lot of sympathy for Bill. I also didn't agree with a lot of things Bill chose to do.
Right.
But at the same time, I didn't want bad things to happen to him. He was a sympathetic character, and it was complicated. And when I walked away from the movie, and at the end when it shows the real footage of him talking to, I think it was ABC that he did the interview with. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And it has the little text at the end saying that later that night after the interview, he ended up dying by suicide. And that was, I don't know. I felt really, really crappy right then. I was not happy to hear that that's how it ended. And so I think that they did a very beautiful job of including all the complexities so that you can appreciate the characters as people.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I see why it has nominations.
And I agree with Rachel. It deserved more.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens once we get to the Oscars. Metascore is super high, an 86 Metascore. The score on IMDb is a 7.8 out of 10. So I mean, people really like this movie, and what that usually means is it's not going to win anything much.
Right.
Just to be quite honest, it's the movies that are like that have super high critic scores and are really low ranked by fans.
I just imagine that the Academy, the board for them are just like, well, Judas and the Black Messiah was an incredible movie, but I was thoroughly engaged the entire time. So I don't know if it deserves Best Picture because it wasn't quite boring enough.
Right.
Maybe a nomination, but it definitely won't win.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to see it get at least more than one nomination at the Oscars.
Yeah, I think it deserves a couple at least.
I wouldn't mind maybe a nomination for the writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, for it to get no recognition at Golden Globes aside from supporting actor, my hopes are not high.
I think I would be satisfied if it got a nomination for Best Picture and a nomination for Best Supporting Actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think those were the two standouts for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. Those would be good. Yeah, it's got it has a lot of nominations, like from other awards and things like that. I think it's got a.
Oh, it blew up the film festivals. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
So,
you ready to get into favorite scenes?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and kick it off. I'll go first this time.
All right.
Okay.
My favorite scene, there's a lot of them, and so it took a while for me to kind of pinpoint exactly which one I wanted. But for me, it had to be the first time that, I think maybe the only time, that Bill goes to Roy Mitchell's house. And they actually sit down, and you kind of have their dialogue back and forth about, it's almost Roy trying to justify himself to a degree and try to sell his perspective to Bill. Right. He agrees with him on all of the philosophical points, but that the way the Black Panthers are going about it isn't the right way to do it. That it makes them as bad as those that they both hate, like the KKK.
Right.
And I disagree with the Black Panthers' methods sometimes. I definitely don't think that that's an equal equivalency.
Right.
But at the same time, it was particularly a moment in there where I was like, oh, I like this movie. And it was when Bill started grilling Roy on, how much do you make? And asking him some of these like kind of pointed questions. And then he asks him, so do you get some kind of bonus if I give you really good intel?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And the way that Roy responded was so smart and cut through all the crap that was the moment that I was like, this is not some dumb cop, like beat, I'm not saying beat cops are dumb, but I mean, quintessential dumb cop in a movie,
Right.
that he is very clever, because he kind of sidesteps all of it, not wanting to answer directly, but his answer was, to answer your question, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Right.
In the way that he just cut through the actual question that was being posed of, if you give me some good intel, I'll make sure that you're compensated.
Right.
I loved the dialogue and the way that it was delivered right there so much that I was sold from that point in the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great scene.
Good choice.
It also had that kind of, it was an interesting power dynamic of, Bill is stuck in this trap, not able to get his leg free unless Roy allows him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's this kind of, you want to kind of befriend him, but you also want to keep him at a distance because he's your captor. It's so complicated and nuanced. And I just really appreciated that scene because it summed up all the things that I love so much about this movie in kind of one scene, except for the incredible performance by Daniel Kaluuya. So he wasn't in the scene. That's the only reason it gets a little nick from a perfect scene for this movie. But
fair enough.
Yeah. Nice.
So that was my choice. I love that scene.
Good choice. Good choice.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What about you, Rachel?
I'm going to have to go with the big, I'm not sure the right word, is it maybe a rally, whatever, where Fred is giving his big giant speech and Roy is there in the crowd keeping an eye sort of on them. And you can just see the mixture for Bill of really believing and supporting and also knowing he's being watched and knowing that he can't exactly get fully invested because he's still on the other side of it.
Right.
And I just the speech that Fred gives and the power to his words and to see the reaction of everybody in the crowd, it for me that was a really good, really powerful scene, and I think it shows sort of what a charismatic leader he was.
Oh yeah.
And the full investment people have in him, which sort of further translates into just removing him isn't going to fix the problem that they think they have.
Yeah.
They should have watched V for Vendetta.
Yes, exactly.
You can kill a man, but you can't kill an idea.
Right.
Yes. And, especially in this case, removing that leader that everybody loves and supports isn't going to make them stop, and it isn't going to make them any more sympathetic to you.
Right.
No, but one of the things, so sorry, but but one of the things that does kind of show is that in doing something like that, you do also open up a door for someone more radical to step in. Because Fred Hampton wasn't that kind of radical, right? And I think the C4 scene kind of proves that.
Right.
I'm not going to do that because they're going to come here.
At least regarding
the
film, yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
He had more logic than that. It wasn't just about revenge or big gestures of violence for him. It was more about the idea and the real purpose behind it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So.
No, that's a good scene.
That was mine.
Great scene. It was so tense.
Yeah, it was. Powerful.
Good choice. What about you, Daniel? What was your favorite scene?
We actually already talked about mine a little bit. You brought it up when Fred was talking to Mrs. Winters. So that's that scene at her house
was wondering why you're being so quiet there.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a
Saving
good
it.
scene. That's weird for him not to inject at all.
Yeah, no, it was a great scene. I think that, so he's there, Fred Hampton's there to, I guess, kind of pay his respects in a manner. It's not a funeral or anything like that. But he's there to talk to his mother, Mrs. Winters, or Miss Winters. And her phone is just ringing off the hook.
Yeah.
And she's not answering it. And it's because she's been getting threatening phone calls.
Right.
For something that has nothing to do with her in the slightest bit. And, her answer is just like, yeah, just ignore it and let it ring. And Fred kind of starts to talk about Jake and what happened, and his mom is just kind of like, can we talk about something else? But even in doing that, the part of it that I really enjoyed the most about the scene was the fact that when you have something like that, like when something tragic happens, or something that is just a very consuming incident,
Mm-hmm.
it sticks with you. Like, it's always in your head and it's always rattling around, whether you're trying to do something to forget it or not think about it or whatever. And so I really enjoyed the fact that she's like, can we not talk about that? And then like the very next things out of her mouth are specifically talking about her son.
She can't not talk about
Yeah,
it.
you can't. It is all consuming. You don't want to think about it because it hurts, but it's just rolling around over and over and over and over in your head. And
All roads lead to Rome.
yeah, exactly. And she's got somebody there that she can actually talk to about it, in Fred, and shares her story of her young son and who she knows he is, and again goes into the part that you already talked about. It was one incident in his life. Yes, he did do that, but it is not who he is. Right? This incident will be used to define him, but it doesn't define him.
Right.
Because it isn't his personality. It isn't really who she knows as her son.
Hell, for my own sake, I'd really hope that we're not all judged off of our worst moment.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, because I'm not really pleased with that if that's the case.
Yeah, no.
And that's sort of how I took it when she didn't want to talk about what happened. It's not so much that she doesn't want to talk about him. It's that she wants him remembered the way she sees him.
Right.
So
yeah,
I love to talk about him. Let's talk about him more, but let's talk about the things that I think summed him up better.
Right.
Yeah.
And I really like the fact that, that's basically what she said at the end is, go out there and tell them who my son really was.
And then named a health clinic after him.
Yeah.
Love that.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Good choice. Very good choice.
Yeah.
Good scene. It was a really good scene.
Very powerful.
I love
scene.
this movie.
Yeah. I was entertained.
Yeah, it was really good.
All right. Well, then I think that about covers it for Judas and the Black Messiah. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed our coverage of this as well. If you did, please go online and make sure to like and subscribe. And always come back and join us next time on Were You Not Entertained?